Jennifer from Flux. In this video, we're going to learn how to crochet the waistcoat stitch. This stitch has lots of different names, however, so you may have heard it called the center post stitch, the center single crochet, or the crochet knit stitch. So those are all the same thing, but what we're after is this knit look. So this has the same iconic V's as knitting what might look. So I've made this swatch here in the round, but we're going to learn today how to both make the waistcoat stitch in the round and flat. Now it looks a little bit different when you make it flat versus in the round. And I'm going to show you that in just a minute, but as you can see here too, it makes a very thick fabric. So this is great if you need a nice sturdy fabric for something like a basket or a hat or something really thick and warm. So in this video, we're going to learn how to work the waistcoat stitch both flat and in the round. It's slightly different, and I'm going to show you both. Okay, so grab some yarn, and one tip I wanted to give you is when you're working the waistcoat stitch, you'll want to go up a hook size or even two. I went up 2 hook sizes, so check your yarn labels for the recommended hook size and then choose a larger hook than what it recommends, because this can get very tight and you need to open the stitches up in order to work into those stitches, okay? So I'm going to just grab my yarn here. We're going to learn how to work the waistcoat stitch in the round first, okay? So we're just going to create a little swatch like I have here. So all you want to do is put a slip knot on your hook, and then you're going to create a chain. We're going to work from the bottom up. We're just going to make a quick chain. Now, when you're working in a pattern, you'll of course want to follow the number of chains that it recommends for your pattern. But I'm just going to make a random number of chains. This has no special stitch count. It's basically like working the single crochet stitch, but we're just positioning our hook in a different place when we begin, and you're going to see all this unfold in just a moment. Okay, so I made a couple of chains, and now we're going to join in the farthest chain from our hook to create this ring. Okay, so go all the way down to the beginning, insert the hook into that chain, wrap yarn around hook. We're going to bring up a loop. Now bring that loop through the loop that's already on your hook. Okay, now we have a similar bottom to our swatch over here. Okay, now I'm just going to move this tail and get it out of the way, and then we're going to chain 1. So to begin, when you're working the waistcoat stitch, you're just going to work regular single crochets into those chains to begin. Okay, so if you're not familiar with a single crochet stitch, I have a separate video, but just really quickly, insert the hook into the chain, bring up a loop. You'll have 2 loops on your hook. Wrap yarn around hook, bring it through both loops, okay? So just work a single crochet in every chain all the way around this ring that we just created. So I'm going to go ahead and do that, and then we'll rejoin and we'll work our first round of waistcoat stitch. All right, I'm just going to work that last single crochet, and then we're going to join where we began with a slip stitch just to close the round, okay? So just insert your hook, bring up a loop, now bring that loop through the loop already on your hook. So now we just have a round of single crochet stitches. And let me just trim this tail just so it's out of the way and we don't have to look at it, okay? All right, so now we're going to work our waistcoat stitch. So normally we're going to chain 1 just like we would for regular single crochet. Normally we would work into the stitch. So see these little loops at the top? We would just work right into that stitch and work regular single crochets, just like that, okay? But for what we're doing, we're going to be working into the center of the V's, okay? So this first V we have in our round, we're going to insert our hook, and you might need to kind of wiggle it in there. It is very tight, and you're going to bring up a loop, and then wrap yarn around hook and bring it through both loops, just like that. Now you can see those V's are stacked the same as they are over here, okay? All right, let's hop on over to the next V. Do the same thing. Insert the hook into the center of the V and work it like a regular single crochet stitch. If you've ever worked the V stitch in crochet, this reminds me very much of working the V stitch. Okay, so go right into the center of that V. If you need to drill in there a little bit with your hook, it can be a little tight. Bring up a loop, wrap yarn around hook, bring it through both loops. Okay, so you're just going to do this all the way around your round. Okay, Now let's go to the end of our round and I'll show you how to finish up the round with the waistcoat stitch. Now as you can see, it's very similar to working regular single crochet. It's just where you're putting that hook in at the very beginning, okay? And as you can see too, it's already getting quite a nice thick fabric, okay? So just go all the way around, going into the center of those V stitches, okay? Just like that. Okay, I'm just working in that last V of my round. And then we're going to join with a slip stitch. See this first row that we came to? Just go right into there with a slip stitch, okay? So to continue, you'll just do the same thing over and over, as tall as you would like your project or your swatch to be. And you'll just keep going into each one of those V's, the center of those V's, okay? So let's switch gears a little bit and we'll learn how to work the waistcoat stitch flat now. Okay, let's give our yarn a little snip. And we can put this one aside. And then we're going to once again make a chain. So put a slip knot on your hook. And so you'll begin with a chain for both flat and in the round. So make your chain. Again, no special stitch count. You can make your chain as long or as short as you like. Okay? Now similar to, or the same really, as regular single crochet, you're going to work in the second chain from the hook. This loop here does not count. So 1, 2, and then once again, like we did in the round, we're going to work single crochets in every chain all the way across. Okay? So just work your single crochets in each chain. And then work that in the last chain here. Okay, so then what you need to do is, there's our single crochet stitches. So then what we're going to do is, once again, the same thing. You're going to chain 1 and then turn your work. So this is where it changes, because when we worked our waistcoat stitch in the round, it looks the same. Every time you do a round, it looks the same. You go in the center of each V. But when you flip over single crochets, they look completely different. So if we were to go on the inside of our swatch in the round, it looks almost just like, if not exactly the same, as our flat. Okay? So we need to go into the stitch a little bit differently. So when you flip over single crochet, all of a sudden your V's will be upside down. Now let me just zoom in so I can show you that. See each one of these V's? I'm going to pull my hook out so I can use it as a pointer. See that? It goes up and then down, up and then down, up and then down, up. Those are the V's, but they're upside down now. Okay? So what you'll have to do is go in the same thing. Go in the middle of the V's, but they're just going to be flipped over. Okay? So just remember, when you're working flat, you still go into the V's, but they're going to be upside down. Okay? So go in, and again, you might have to wiggle your hook in there a little bit, bring up a loop, wrap yarn around hook, bring it through both loops. Same thing. Now that will look like a V because that's facing you, okay? Next, locate the next upside down V, go into the center of that V. You have to wiggle that hook in there. This is a very tight stitch fabric. Go in the center of the V, that upside down V. Now what I like to do when I'm working waistcoat flat like this is every couple of stitches I flip it over and I just check. Okay? Now as you can see, we're getting our V's stacked. See, there's one, see how they're stacked on top of one another? Now I will say too, when you work both in the round and flat, that very first round is extra tight. I always find to be extra tight. So let's work another row after this. Go into that upside down V, work your single crochet the way you normally would. Go into that upside down V, finish your single crochet stitch. I'm running out of yarn here, and it's, you know, the end of a yarn ball is always kind of tangly. Into the upside down V, wrap yarn around hook, bring it through both loops, and then that last V of the row. Now, because we're doing a flat swatch, we need to also work into the turning chain. Okay, so see okay, cut that last part. Okay, we also need to work into this little turning chain on the end. So just work a regular single crochet into that, okay? So there is our first row. Now, like I mentioned before, it's always a little tight, that first row of waistcoat stitch. So let's work one more. Chain one. All right, now when we flip it over, we're gonna have those upside down V's again. So locate the first one of your row, which is right here. They almost look like the letter A, okay? Okay, work that first one. I'll go into the next one. They're a little bit easier to see also in subsequent rows. That very first row, I always try and go a little slower on that first row just because it's very, very snug. Okay. Go into the next one. See how I'm wiggling it in there? Go into the next one. All right, and then you can kind of check, flip it over, check, and make sure your V's are lining up, okay? So let's grab our swatches again. That is how you crochet the waistcoat stitch, both flat and in the round. Now, they both look a little bit different, but they're both equally pretty. You can use them for lots of things. So I hope you enjoyed this stitch, and that is how you crochet the waistcoat stitch or the crochet knit stitch. Thanks so much for watching, and be sure and click the subscribe button to get all the latest Fiber Flux video updates. Thanks again.